All right, so here's our first video using the sine, cosine, and tangent that we saw in the intro video. So I'm going to go ahead and write Sohcahtoa at the top. That's something you should definitely write at the top of your homework, quizzes, tests, because that's the best reference for figuring out how to find the sine, cosine, and tangent of any angle. All right, so here's our example. We have a right triangle, and we have all three sides given to us, and we are trying to find the sine, cosine, and tangent first of angle A. So I'm going to go ahead and circle angle A. This is the one we're talking about. So what would be helpful is if we could label our opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent sides, just so it's really quick to answer the sine, cosine, and tangent questions. So I always start with the opposite. Opposite of A is over here where the 7 is. You can see it's the side that doesn't touch angle A, and you have to go across the triangle to get to it. So there's the opposite side. Now the other two sides, one of them is the hypotenuse and one of them is the adjacent side. So hypotenuse, that's going to be across from your 90-degree angle. So that's going to be this side of 25, which leaves the adjacent side. Remember, adjacent means next to. So here's the side that is next to the angle. So now that we have all of that labeled, answering the sine, cosine, and tangent questions is pretty quick. So to find the sine of angle A, we know that that is the SOH, S-O-H. So sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Well, the opposite side is 7, we labeled that, and the hypotenuse is 25. Reduce that if you can. If you cannot, then that's your answer. All right, the cosine is Sohcahtoa, so that middle part. It is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. So if we look at the triangle, we labeled the adjacent side as 24. That's a 24. And the hypotenuse is still that 25. All right, and then last we have toa, tangent. So tangent is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. Well, the opposite side is 7, and the adjacent side is 24, and that can't be reduced, so that's our final answer. So not too bad, especially if you have all three sides labeled as the hypotenuse, adjacent, or opposite sides. So now we have to find the sine, cosine, and tangent of angle B. Well, the thing with using angle B, let me go ahead and circle angle B. In this triangle, it changes how I'm going to label some of these sides over here. The hypotenuse will never change, so don't worry about that. But just to make this a little bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and just redraw the triangle so that I don't have to worry about those old labels that won't apply anymore. So here's A, B, and C. We know that this is 25, this is 7, and this is 24. And now when we label our sides, we're going to label according to angle A. So the opposite side is going to be across the triangle. That 24 is our opposite side. The hypotenuse is always that longest side across from the 90 degrees, which leaves 7 as the adjacent angle. All right, so when we do sine, cosine, and tangent of angle B, we're going to focus on the triangle on the right. So sine, again, is opposite over hypotenuse. So if we look, our opposite side is 24, and our hypotenuse is 25. Can't be reduced, so that's our final answer. All right, cosine, I'm writing too big to fit this in. Cosine is Sohcahtoa, so adjacent over hypotenuse, and the adjacent side is 7, and the hypotenuse is 25. And then our last one is tangent, Sohcahtoa, that is opposite over adjacent. And our opposite side is 24, and our adjacent side is 7. And that can't be reduced, so that's our final answer.